Think you know Texas? Think again. Beneath the wide-open skies and dusty highways lies a darker truth, one most folks would rather not talk about. Tonight, I'm taking you through some of the Lone Star State's most bone-cold, spine-tingling places. These aren't just stories. They're true accounts backed with whispers, photographs, and evidence that'll make the hair on your arms stand on end. From hospitals steeped in death to hotels where guests never really check out, Texas has no shortage of ghosts. Stay with me until the end, because the last place we visit will make you think twice before crossing any old bridge after dark. Our first stop takes us to Yorktown, a small town with one very big secret. Looming on the edge of the highway is the old Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a building so heavy with death it feels like the walls themselves are rotting with it. Built back in the 1950s by the Felician sisters, it was supposed to be a beacon of hope, but instead it became a house of despair. Over 2,000 lives were lost inside these walls, many under mysterious circumstances. They say when the hospital finally shut its doors in the late 1980s, something stayed behind. Step through those rusted gates and you'll feel it instantly. The air gets thick, cold, and wrong. The smell of mildew clings to everything, but underneath it, something sharper, metallic, like dried blood. Investigators have captured glowing red eyes peering from the dark, as though something's watching from the corners where the light doesn't reach. EVPs picked up whispered prayers mixed with low, guttural growls. And if you dared to wander deeper, past the rotting gurneys and rusted scalpels left behind, you might hear the slam of a door echo down the hall. Many swear it's a warning turn back, but not everyone gets the chance. One visitor claimed an invisible hand grabbed his wrist so hard it left bruises. And once you're in deep enough, you realize these spirits don't just want to be seen. They want you to stay, forever. From Yorktown, we head to Austin, where marble floors and glowing chandeliers disguise one of the most haunted hotels in Texas. The Driskill Hotel, built in 1886 by Colonel Jesse Driskill himself, still stands as one of the city's proudest landmarks. But opulence doesn't wash away tragedy, and the Driskill has plenty of it. They say Colonel Driskill never left, his spirit still pacing the halls at night, the smell of his cigar drifting through empty corridors. Room 525 is perhaps the most infamous spot. Two brides, decades apart, both ended their lives there while on their honeymoons. Guests who stayed in the room describe the air as heavy, pressing down like an invisible weight, as if the walls themselves are soaked with sorrow. And then there's the girl. Witnesses see her bouncing a ball down the staircase, dressed in a Victorian gown. The ball rolls to the bottom step, sometimes even to a guest's feet, but when they look up, she's gone. Paranormal teams have recorded children's laughter in the dead of night, doors unlocking on their own, and sudden bursts of icy air sweeping through rooms, even in the middle of a sweltering Texas summer. The elevator ride alone can turn your stomach lights flickering, a heavy presence just behind you, watching from the mirrored wall. And when those doors open, more than one person has sworn they've heard the soft thud of a ball rolling across the carpet as if waiting to be picked up. But if you think luxury hides the dead, just wait until we step into Jefferson, a town frozen in time. The historic Jefferson Hotel has a charm about it, sure, but the walls hide stories you'll never forget. In 1912, a heartbroken woman hanged herself in her room after her lover abandoned her. Since then, countless guests report hearing sobbing in the dark or waking to feel their clothes being tugged by unseen hands. Room 19 is notorious. Lights flicker. Objects shift across the dresser without anyone touching them, and sometimes a voice whispers one chilling command, "Get out." Paranormal investigators swear they've caught these words on tape, followed by a door slamming shut on its own. But perhaps the most unsettling thing about the Jefferson is what you see when you least expecting it. One couple swore they saw a pale figure standing at the end of the hall, staring. They blinked and it simply faded into the wallpaper. Guests walking the corridor late at night glance into the antique mirrors and see a woman's face looking back at them, her expression hollow, her skin paper white. But when they turn, the hallway is empty. And in Jefferson, that's the scariest part. You're never sure if you're alone or if the house is watching. San Antonio is known for its rich history, but at its heart lies a battleground that has soaked the earth with blood. The Alamo isn't just a symbol of Texas pride, it's a graveyard of restless spirits. In 1836, nearly 200 Texian defenders were slaughtered by Santa Anna's forces. Their bodies were piled, burned, and scattered, yet some say their souls never left. Security guards working the night shift have reported seeing phantom soldiers, dressed in ragged uniforms, marching silently across the courtyard. Tourists snap photos, only to later discover pale faces peering from the old stone walls, eyes sunken, mouths open in silent screams. The most disturbing stories come from those who hear the clash of swords and the echo of gunfire long after the city has gone quiet. One witness swore he saw a man in a tattered uniform walk straight through a solid wall. And if you stand in the chapel alone, you might hear faint whispers of prayer for the dead that never seems to end. The Alamo isn't just history, it's a wound that never healed. Travel east to Galveston, and you'll find the beautiful Hotel Galvez, built in 1911. Tourists call it the Queen of the Gulf, but those who've stayed in room 501 know it hides something much darker. They say a young woman, known now as the Lovelorn Lady, ended her life here after learning her fiancé had been lost at sea. She hung herself in despair, and since then, she has never stopped mourning. Guests who stay in her room report smelling roses when no flowers are present. Others wake to the sound of a woman sobbing beside their bed, only to find the room empty. Paranormal teams set up cameras and caught mirrors fogging up, even when the air was cool. Some claim to have seen her figure by the window, staring out at the Gulf as if still waiting for her lover to return. Staff members admit they avoid the 5th floor after dark. The crying is just too real. And when you hear it for yourself, you understand grief that deep doesn't die with the body. Our next stop isn't on land at all. It's docked in Corpus Christi Bay. The USS Lexington, a World War II aircraft carrier nicknamed the Blue Ghost, is now a museum. But the spirits of the sailors who once served aboard have never abandoned their ship. Visitors walking the long metal corridors report the sound of heavy boots echoing just behind them, though no one is there. In sickbay, where countless injured men fought for their lives, moans still drift through the air. Paranormal investigators have recorded ghostly voices giving orders in the control room as if the ship is still at war. One staff member claimed to have seen a young man in a Navy uniform standing by an aircraft before vanishing into thin air. Cameras often pick up strange orbs and unexplained streaks of light. And down in the engine room, more than one guest has reported the terrifying sensation of being pushed hard by unseen hands. The Lexington may be retired, but her crew is still on duty whether they're alive or not. And then there's Goatman's Bridge in Denton County, a place whispered about with fear. Officially known as Old Alton Bridge, it was built in 1884, but the legend tied to it is far older and far darker. They say a black goat farmer named Oscar Washburn lived nearby, and when his business began to thrive, local men couldn't stand it. One night, a lynch mob dragged him to the bridge, slipped a noose around his neck, and threw him over the side. But when they looked down, his body was gone. From that night forward, the bridge was cursed. Drivers crossing after dark report headlights dying, engines stalling, and an overwhelming stench of decay filling the air. Paranormal groups claim to have captured red glowing eyes in the woods, and some swear they heard hooves clattering across the bridge, though no animal was in sight. One couple walking there at midnight froze when they saw a figure, half man, half goat, standing at the far end of the bridge. As they watched in horror, it dropped to all fours and sprinted toward them. They ran, never looking back. And maybe that's the only way to survive Goatman bridge. Don't look too long, or he'll follow you home. In Mineral Wells stands a towering relic of the past, the Baker Hotel. Built in 1929, it was once a shining beacon of luxury, drawing celebrities, politicians, and the wealthy who flocked to its famous mineral baths. But glamour has a way of rotting from the inside, and the Baker Hotel is now a husk, filled with more shadows than light. One of its most enduring legends is that of a mistress who leapt to her death from the 7th floor after her affair with the hotel's owner turned sour. To this day, guests and urban explorers claim to smell her perfume lingering in the air, a strong, floral scent that appears suddenly, then vanishes. In the grand ballroom, people have heard music playing faintly, the sound of an old record spinning, though no machine was ever found. A ghostly bellboy has been spotted in the halls, carrying luggage that disappears with him. And on the rooftop, more than one visitor has seen a pale figure step up to the edge, pause as if ready to jump, and then fade into nothingness. The Baker Hotel might look abandoned, but something inside it is still alive and waiting. Now we head south to Seguin, home of the Magnolia Hotel, one of the most famously haunted spots in Texas. Built in the 1840s, it was once a stagecoach stop, a jail, and a temporary home for outlaws. That history left scars and spirits. The Magnolia is said to be haunted by at least 13 different ghosts. Among them is a little girl named Emma, who died tragically in the building and is often seen playing with a ball in the hallway. Visitors hear the soft sound of giggling, followed by the thump of a ball bouncing against the old wooden floors. Then, there's the darker presence, that of William Faust, a serial killer executed in the 1800s. His spirit is said to linger in the hotel, and guests have reported waking to see a shadowy man standing at the foot of their bed, glaring silently. Doors slam without warning, cold spots appear out of nowhere, and more than one skeptic has walked in laughing and walked out pale, unwilling to speak of what they saw. The Magnolia doesn't just have ghosts, it has stories soaked into every board. Jefferson appears again on our list with a house known only as the Grove. Built in 1861, this Greek revival home is lovely to look at, with its pristine white columns and old Southern charm. But step inside, and you feel the weight of something darker. Locals talk about a woman dressed in black, seen staring from the upstairs window at passers-by. Paranormal investigators have recorded whispers in the halls, voices saying things like, "Get out," or "Help me." Guests walking the property have reported feeling watched, their skin crawling as if unseen eyes were crawling over them. Some claim to have seen a shadow standing in the doorway, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. What unnerves most visitors is the feeling that the house itself is alive, that it knows you are there. You don't just tour the Grove, it tours you. Finally, we return to San Antonio to visit the Menger Hotel, built in 1859 right beside the Alamo. The Menger is beautiful, filled with Victorian elegance, but beneath that polished surface lies tragedy. One of the most well-known spirits here is Sally White, a chambermaid who was brutally murdered by her jealous husband. Guests have spotted her ghost still carrying towels through the hallways, going about her duties as though death never stopped her. The hotel bar is another hotbed of activity, with reports of a man in a top hat who sits quietly in the corner until you look twice and realize the chair is empty. Some visitors swear their beds have been slept in when they return to their rooms, wrinkled sheets, indents on the mattress as if someone was waiting for them. Even more unsettling, guests often hear footsteps behind them in the hallways, only to turn and find nothing there. The Menger isn't just haunted, it's inhabited. Once you spend the night, you understand, you're not the only guest here. Engoliad, standing strong against the test of centuries, is Presidio la Bahia, a Spanish fort built in 1749. Its stone walls have seen wars, bloodshed, and betrayal. But its darkest moment came in 1836, during the Texas Revolution, when over 300 Texian soldiers were executed on the orders of General Santa Anna. The massacre stained the land with so much death that the soil itself seems restless. Visitors today hear the sound of phantom soldiers pacing the ramparts, their boots striking against stone. At night, the roll of distant drums can be heard, followed by the sharp crack of musket fire. Tourists walking the grounds late after closing have felt icy hands brush their arms, or seen fleeting shadows of men in old uniforms vanish into the night. Some even swear they've smelled the sulfur sting of gunpowder when the air is still. The Presidio I sent to just haunted by ghosts sit as haunted by an army that never stopped fighting. Now we travel to Houston, where Glenwood Cemetery holds the city's elite in its manicured grounds. Established in 1871, it is beautiful by day, but at night it transforms into something else. Beneath the massive trees and elaborate mausoleums, figures are said to wander. One of the most unsettling is the faceless apparition, seen drifting silently between the headstones. Witnesses describe it as a human form, but with nothing where the face should be, just smooth, pale skin. Others report hearing weeping near the oldest section, the sound of a woman sobbing endlessly in the shadows. Statues here are also said to shift when no one is looking. One angel, carved of stone, has been spotted in different positions in photographs taken minutes apart. Paranormal teams who brave the cemetery after dark leave with recordings of whispers, voices that seem to come from beneath the ground itself. Glenwood may be a place of rest for the dead, but for the living, there is no peace here. And then, in El Paso, stands the DeSoto Hotel, a place with a history as grim as any in Texas. Built in the early 1900s, it has long been linked to whispers of occult rituals held in its basement. Guests who stay here report terrifying encounters with a ghost girl named Sarah. They say she appears as a shadow at first, but if you see her clearly, she's smiling, and then the scratches come. Visitors wake to find deep marks raked across their backs and arms, as if tiny hands clawed at them in the night. Dark growls echo from the walls, and soot-black handprints sometimes appear on bedsheets without explanation. The curtains in the rooms have been known to sway violently even when the windows are sealed shut. Paranormal investigators set up equipment here and caught a chilling recording, a deep guttural voice simply saying, "Leave." Yet people keep coming back. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's the thrill. But those who've stayed too long admit something follows them home, something that doesn't to let go. And so we reach the end of our journey, from haunted hospitals to cursed bridges, from grieving brides to restless soldiers. Texas is vast, and beneath its sun-baked surface runs a river of darkness that can't be ignored. These places aren't just old buildings or crumbling landmarks. They are wounds that bleed into the present, scars that never heal. If you ever decide to visit, remember this. You're not just a tourist, you're a witness. And sometimes, when you look too long into the past looks back. So the next time you're driving through Texas late at night, and the road is empty except for the shadows of trees stretching across the asphalt, listen closely. If you hear footsteps on the gravel behind you, if you smell roses where there are no flowers, if you hear the faint thud of a ball rolling across the floor, don't turn around. Because you might just see one of Texas's restless dead, and once they know you've seen them, they never really let you go.